So I played... Nah. I don't know exactly what to call this playthrough or review or whatever, because I went into this wanting to do something completely different. I was going to review fucking Verdant Moon, but I guess that can wait until next time because this rabbit hole might be one of the weirdest I've ever seen on Roblox. How did I find this? You see, I usually play condo games on my alt, but this time I just couldn't resist. No, but for real, I hear about these things on YouTube like all the time, and it's not until you actually see that you're like, holy fuck, did I just find the Roblox Illuminati or something crazy like that? No, not really. It's kind of like this video, shitty clickbait. I should have known from the titles of these games that it'd probably turn out like this. Before I give anything else away, please join me for a brief moment of time as we look at the weirdest series of games I've ever seen on the platform that are way more malicious than initially meets the eye. So without further ado, let's go into the sus games made by the collective hive mind that'll take us down a weird path. This video's format will be a little different from my other reviews, so rather than dedicate a small section at the beginning to a pre-game investigation, I'll sprinkle in additional details as needed for the context of what we get ourselves into. We'll be looking at a total of 5 games spread between different owners and different groups, but if there's anything I'll try to prove by the end, which shouldn't be that hard, is that there's a clearly defined connection between all the creators involved. The first stop on our list is the untitled sus game made by the group Cat and Friends. Before even getting into the game, I want to highlight a few weird details you can observe immediately. As with most clickbaity games, the usual mess of tags at the bottom of the description composes most of it, as well as an obvious ploy for popularity by promising surprises if you drop likes and favorites and special roles for group members. But what's interesting is a little blurb near the bottom that reads as follows: "We recommend private servers for older audiences. Thank you for understanding once again." Now, that's a little odd, especially given the game is marked as all ages by the developers and the overall vibe of the game is, well... you're starting to see where this is going. These games are considered social hangout games in terms of Roblox genres, mostly consisting of houses and towns and whatnot, where people can just roleplay and chat and, well, mostly roleplay, but seeing the beginnings of innuendo pop up just from the title and badges alone is enough to raise red flags. You'll see this become a recurring trope across these experiences. Upon joining, you're thrown into a low-detail type town with portals and bright colors that feels like Meep City was resurrected from the grave by the bloody work of Alex Neutron himself in an instant prompt by something. We'll take a closer look at these purchase prompts later, but for now I was getting used to this world. A generic sign prompt you can make, which even a kid could script, accompanies really painful building and the excessive use of free model type buildings. I mean, come on. It's not that hard to reposition a floor, and oh my god, the lighting! My eyes! Things like these are expected from these low quality type of games. This guy was using the sign, I guess, to warn incoming players of this game's, like sinister undertones, but it was kind of lost in his like medieval type writing. I liked his avatar though. Some minuscule secrets in a door with a code I couldn't unlock, but again, most of these things I don't doubt probably lead to nothing. Finding another area leads me to a sort of credits section of the game where they feature the characters of the developers who worked on this game, and I'll highlight them each in due time, but for now I want you to memorize these, specifically the far left and middle one. Doing some small parkour leads you to a different area where there's a gate where you can teleport to a multitude of different places, and while most of them were broken, I ended up touching one that took me to Neko Girl Hangout by the group Neko Girl Hangout, which is owned by a blank account called Jessie. If the fact that you can join this game from the untitled sus game is enough proof they have connections, we'll take a moment to look at my schizo conspiracy board I made specifically for this video. Looking at the friends list of Jessie, there are 2 prominent figures to look at, but it is worth noting that all 3 do appear in other sus game groups. I can't believe that's something I've said. The first is Cat Sus, who is featured in the thumbnail of the game despite not having ownership over it, and Coda, who we saw earlier as a featured dev in the game but also appears in this one. Now you're probably like, yeah duh, they probably worked on multiple games and they just like this type of content, but why split it across so many fucking groups, with different owners, different group holders? What's the point of not centralizing your player base? What's the benefit? Well, if you're scared of moderation, this is a common tactic among clickbaity games and devs to avoid Roblox rules and just to get scam kids out of some Robux. Speaking of scams, this game is an even more outrageous offender than the previous one. Generic NPCs with questionable expressions on their face and shitty dialogue prompts that give me PTSD aneurysms to yandere simulator litter the free model world. The store is empty, and the streets barren, with the only 2 doors that seem to lead anywhere being blocked by a group-only door, which doesn't work even though I joined the group, and the shitty minutes requirement door where you have to play that piece of shit for over 1.5 hours. I tried to do it by AFKing in the game, but then I got so bored of doing that I just left and gave up on the thing entirely. I messed around with some dance emotes the game had to see if they were any suggestive ones or like online data friendly ones, but they all seem pretty innocent, likely gotten off the Roblox toolbox or something. The games themselves offer no explicit content outside of the suggestive use of private servers, and the game passes to chat individually with the characters. Now let's take a closer look at what exactly these purchase prompts offer. For 100 Robux, you can buy the selected character for a purpose that is never fully explained but alluded to through the dialogue and game descriptions. Private servers are for older audiences. We can talk more in game passes. Sus, hold E, silly. People might freak out and say, whoa, how'd you come to that conclusion? These could be completely innocent. No, the game clearly has sexual connotations, romantic at the bare minimum. Doesn't take a genius to see that. Let's go back to the board I made just to assert this connection before I move on to the next game. The Untitled Sus game teleports you to Neko Girl Hangout, and while owned by different groups, the group behind Untitled is allied with Neko, and both games have a connection to Coda and another dev called Branch. The accounts behind the groups appear to be just holders, and there's going to be a running theme of this cat character. Also, Untitled features more TPs, although they're broken, but I'll assume they teleport to one of the games hosted by one of the many allies of the Cat and Friends group. Speaking of their affiliates, next game I hopped into is another one of their most popular and is hosted by the Catalina Supremacy group, Your Sus Roommate, the group owned by what appears to be another holder account known as Max. Despite the game revolving around this character, the Catalina Roommate account doesn't own the group behind the game, but is rather a high-ranking member in it. Interestingly, the Cat Sus account, which seems to be the central figure for a good chunk of these quote-unquote sus games, including Untitled, claims in their description to be the main developer behind this game, or at least a contributor. I'm inclined to believe the Catalina account to be an alt for Cat Sus, especially given how the YouTube link is defunct and the Twitter is incredibly unpopular and privated, likely putting up some farce that multiple people are part of this. Even Cat Sus's linked YouTube only has one video that, while is a recorded animatic, seems like something either put together as a red herring or this was really the work of a 16-year-old kid, and I wouldn't really be surprised actually. Before hopping in, again, you can see that weird disclaimer in the description and some strange but pretty common tags. Two of them have been used by the last two games as well, however. Cat Sus and Other Motherer, the username for the Coda developer. You can see how this stuff is gonna tie together. The game consists of players inside a free model house with a roommate NPC saying a bunch of random stuff in response to player chats, but it's not as advanced as you may think. It's really just choosing from like 10 pre-made responses it's got. It's shocking just how many players were in this game, as well as the Untitled. It seems that whatever algorithm behind what Roblox recommends you favors these types of baity games and worse. The system they managed to build here has worked. Call me bitter, but how the fuck does a game consisting of a single free model house as the entire thing get over 150,000 Robux in total donations? I pray this is counting group funds from the other games too, because if not, this has been proven to be an extremely successful business tactic. And just to prove how much it is, 80 Robux is roughly equivalent to $1 US, so 150,000 Robux approximately would come out to be slightly under $2,000. That is insane. So up until now, I wasn't really clear on what I was trying to prove here, but no, this isn't eyes wide shut, people. Roblox, despite all their shitty moderation, wouldn't let a sex game get to these levels of popularity, even if the alleged content is hidden behind paywalls and private servers or whatever. Basically, this looks to just be a new type of scam emerging on the platform, which is actually pretty effective in context if you think about it. Say you purchase this software that has no description save for a character's name and image, and nothing happens. You've been scammed. You take out a dispute or whatever and claim victim against them, and two possible things can happen. Number one, they can argue that you have bought something to be used in game but never specify what it did exactly, and it was your responsibility to see that ambiguity. Or number two, why did you buy this anyways? New dance emotes. Or, you know, the most likely thing is that you tried to dispute this and Roblox just doesn't give a fuck, but, you know, might as well try. On an unrelated note, before I wrap up this with a final game, I was actually looking at my recently played to double check the ownerships behind these places, and for a second I was scared that the games hacked me or something, because the games blend together so much and teleport you to so many different places that I legitimately could not remember going from Neko Girl Hangout to Cat Girl Hangout. I'll probably be teleported to Zoophile Hangout next. Now, I know I said the last game, but there are technically two, but I'll just cover one very briefly, and the other ties in with everything else. The former was a game called Unknown Sus Game, made by the group GMO's Hangout, manned by the account called Breedable Holder Group. Yeah, the main person behind this operation appears to be the user I'm girl please accept trade. Actual user please accept trade I'm girl. They have Twitter and YouTube handles to check out, and the actual game appears to just be a shitty hangout game that pulls in money through donations and maybe that weird solicitation purchase prompt, but I haven't seen it. It's not tied to the other games from the research I've done, just appears to be some quote-unquote girl that is using the innuendo connotations to make a quick buck and farm clout off it while they're at it. Their YouTube is pretty generic and clickbaity, so from my perspective it's just a detached money scheme that one person is probably behind. Not as bad as the other stuff, but still, stop it. The final game is Sus Cowgirl Simulator by Angelic Studios. The group owner is another holder account, Wednesday Adams, but it's worth noting that Coda is a co-owner in the group. Speaking of, I didn't cover it for brevity's sake, but also because I'm going insane from the shittiness of these games, but Coda's bio links to a game made by another group called Cat and Studios, where the game is called Cat Sus But She's Real, and I just wanted to highlight it because it's yet another group game of many that he's likely scamming people and probably just making this guy rich. By the way, yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy is behind the whole thing, or at least a major contributor in all this. The game is very much like Roommate in its simplicity, literally just a smaller free model house where you're absolutely spammed by purchase prompts for the only character in the room, who by the way cuts straight to the chase and basically tells you to buy her for sus stuff to happen. So after being tormented by all these Roblox girls I couldn't have, I decided to see whether the games truly offered explicit content or not, or if it was all just a blatant scam. So I purchased some Robux and got back into the game, clicked buy, and nothing. I can't believe it. I was cucked by a Roblox game. All this game had to do was give up some Lego snatch for a few measly Robux, but no. Peace led me down the dark path of hooking up with virtual NPCs, and I couldn't even manage that. I'm the Roblox incel now, and I assure you, these e-girls will pay for their crimes. Anyways, going back to the main board overall, I have highlighted the connections down to the owners for all games covered, and as you can see, there are a lot of groups I didn't dive into. I've checked a few of them out, and they do have a few games, but from what I can tell, they're inactive, and the sus games were by far their most successful scams. I'm not making this video in hopes that they'll get banned because, you know, Roblox moderation, but just to let people know about the true nature of the games and hopefully get a few people to spam report it until the auto mod system or those southeastern mods take it down. That's pretty much it, and I'm sorry it was kind of anticlimactic. I was, like you guys, probably expecting like some forbidden Jeffrey Epstein tier of secret cult or something where it's like Pizzagate ain't got shit on this, but yeah, it just looks to be a shameless cash grab and an overall time waster for kids through all the suggestive imagery and dialogue and illusions and stuff that shouldn't ever be allowed on this godforsaken platform. All I can really say is to please report every single fucking sus game you see because it's just a money cult, so yeah, don't be like me and drop roughly $2 in the hopes of getting a Roblox head. But I should probably end with something creepy, so here's a shitty end line for like these types of horror things and a Shining reference. And remember, stay safe. Okay, I'm gonna go fucking drink tea or something, so I'll see you guys later.
And a rendezvous. Your arms held a message tender, saying I surrender all my love to you.